Ashra tightened the straps of her satchel as she neared the outskirts of Kondalo Manor. The journey had been long, and the air seemed to grow thicker and more oppressive with each step she took. The surrounding landscape was now eerily silent, the path leading up to it overgrown and neglected. As she approached the final bend in the road, Ashra's breath caught in her throat. Where the manor should have stood, there was now a massive crater. The ground had collapsed inward, leaving a gaping void surrounded by jagged edges and broken earth. The sky above was overcast, casting a gloomy pallor over the scene. The townfolk of Selonara had sent Ashra to investigate why the noble family had not been heard from in over a week. The Courier had made this trip multiple times in the past and was familiar with the trip. Now, Ashra hesitated at the edge of the crater, peering down into its depths. Strange, luminescent mushrooms grew out of the ruins, their eerie glow casting an unsettling light on the decayed remains of what was once the grand estate. The rot was so pervasive that it looked as though the ruins had been decomposing for years rather than a mere week. Her instincts tugged at her to turn back, but duty and curiosity drove her forward. She carefully began her descent. The loose soil and debris shifted beneath her boots. As she made her way down, the air grew colder, and a faint, musty odor filled her nostrils. The closer she got to the center of the crater, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The mushrooms seemed to pulse with a sickly light, and Ashra could swear she heard faint whispers carried on the wind. She shook her head, trying to dispel the growing sense of dread. The once stately building was now a grotesque parody of itself. The walls bowing and crumbling, the windows shattered and dark. Vines and fungal growths clung to the structure, giving it the appearance of a decaying corpse. Ashra's heart pounded in her chest, her every fiber urging her to leave. She took a hesitant step forward, drawn by a morbid fascination. The ground beneath her feet felt unsteady, as though it could give way at any moment. The air thick with the stench of mold and rot. A sudden movement caught her eye, and she froze. In the dim light, she could just make out a shadowy figure standing in one of the broken windows. It was impossible to tell whether it was human or something else entirely. The figure remained motionless, watching her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. The fear that had been simmering in the back of her mind surged forward, and Ashra knew she had to leave. She turned and scrambled back up the crater's slope, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The whispers grew louder, and the ground seemed to shift and tremble beneath her. As she reached the edge of the crater, she dared a final glance back. The figure was gone, but the manor loomed in the shadows, its presence a malignant blight on the land. Ashra did not stop running until she was well beyond the outskirts of the estate. The oppressive atmosphere finally beginning to lift. When she returned to Selonara, she could barely find the words to describe what she had seen. The townsfolk listened in hushed silence, their faces pale with fear. The manor had become a place of nightmares, and whatever had befallen the noble family was something far beyond their understanding. Ashra could only hope that whatever dark forces had claimed Kandalo Manor would remain within the crater, never to spread their malign influence beyond its cursed boundaries. I wrote this story as a lead-up to my tabletop adventure, Price for Life, which is now available on my itch page. There's a link to it in the summary. As you can see with the initial thumbnails, I wanted to have a striking image for its cover, eventually landing on this idea of a haunting specter looming over an unsuspecting group of travelers. While writing the backstory of the adventure, I couldn't help but think about the poor Courier who was sent to the manor and had to witness such a disturbing sight. Astra wasn't originally intended to be a character, but now I guess if anybody runs the adventure, she could be someone that the players go to for more information. I hope you liked the story, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get back into posting regularly, so comment what you're interested in learning about Acleon. Thank you, and see you next time.